terms of our top 10, there were some upsets, but they were generally to teams that were ranked ahead of them in the PowerPoint system.
Now, the only upset was that everybody made it home without frostbite today. What a terrible day for high school football. And as your highlights will show, certainly more than mine, the strong wind that seemed to be throughout the state of New Jersey affected quite a number of games.
No question about it. It did have an outcome of the game played in Union today. We'll get to that score and highlights, and all the scores and highlights from the games played today. Don't go away. I'm Matt Lachlan. Well, Union and Linden, ranked number 1 and number 3 respectively in the TV3 poll, met at Cook Memorial Field this afternoon in Union in the North 2 Group 4 semifinal round of the high school football playoffs. And taking a look at the highlights from that game, it was a day fit for neither man nor beast, as even the Seagulls couldn't negotiate the sub-zero wind chill factor weather today that really blanketed the state of New Jersey. There were very few opportunities for either team, but in the first half, Union's best chance came late in the second quarter. Junior halfback Jimmy Young rips off 19 yards. That was followed a few plays later by this pass from Joe Mattina to Joe Cruz. It was a 36-yard hookup down to the Linden 15. However, with Union looking to take a lead in this scoreless game to date, defensive secondary Kelvin Johnson makes this diving interception of a Mattina pass, and that was at the 4-yard line, preserving a 0-0 tie. In the third quarter, the wind is at the backs of Linden, and Lamont Tate kicks home a 47-yard wind-aided field goal with 58 seconds left. That makes it 3-0. Now into the final 12 minutes we go, and watch this punt. The wind will blow it back. Tate's punt goes straight up in the air, blows back, and it is a net minus 16 yards. It's down at the 15-yard line. That was with about 4 minutes to go, and Union took a couple of minutes to set themselves up for this. Field goal of 27 yards from Gene Pierce. That made it 3-3 with 2:08 left to play in the game. Union holds Linden, however, and they have one more opportunity to take a victory. However, this 40-yard attempt will never get off the ground. The snap isn't handled by Mattina, and so we go into overtime. Union elects to go on defense, and Linden takes advantage by scoring. Tate pulls his way in from the 5-yard line. However, here's the critical play. The extra point is blocked, and Union, as so often is the story, takes advantage. On their series, Mattina sneaks in from the 1-yard line, and bedlam erupts on the sideline of the Union Farmers. Well, the only calm player was Gene Pierce, and the senior calmly puts home the extra point, and Union advances to the Group 4 championship. They will take on the winner of the Roxbury-West Orange game. We'll tell you about the details of that a little later on. The final score, 10-9, and it really was a game that wasn't as exciting, in all honesty, as the score indicated. It was a kind of an affair that was dominated by the weather, 0-0 at the half, but the final 12 minutes plus, actually from that field goal by Tate with 58 seconds left through the final 12 minutes into the overtime, really was a thrilling game. Union now 9-0. Linden drops its first of the year, and they are 8-1 on the season. Tate finished the afternoon with 44 yards in the touchdown. In addition to Young's 52 yards on the ground, Rob Jones had 68. However, it was Linden falling this afternoon to the Union Farmers 10-9, and Union will take on the winner of the Roxbury-West Orange game on December 5th, and the Farmers are seeking their 4th consecutive Group 4 championship in North Jersey Section 2. Our number 2 ranked team, the Caldwell Chiefs, they are seated number 1 in their section in North. Did also. So not a lot of injuries to concern himself with. However, he did say earlier in the week that if he had some players who needed to be rested, he would not play them in that game on Thursday. So that would take a little bit off of the game. And, of course, Linden, boy, I don't envy Bucky McDonald at all. His club plays its heart out, winds up losing on an extra point try, 10-9. In the game they felt they had won, I'm sure. And now he's got to get him fired up for a game on Thursday. A tough situation, no question about it.
That's true, even though emotionally there might be a reason to win. As you said, very tough to get the fellas up for a game that means just the conference title when so many people work themselves up for the state championship.
No question about it. Now, that will set the scene, or that does set the scene as to what happened today during the semifinal round, or in North Jersey Section 2, Group 2, I guess it would be considered the quarterfinal round of the playoffs. However, our pairings for the playoffs are not set. We do have 4 teams that are still alive. Union will travel to Roxbury, as we told you, to take on the Gales for the North 2 Group 4 championship. And TV3 Sports presents a North 2 Group 4 semifinal football
ball game between the number 3 Linden Tigers and the number 1 Union Farmers. Today's game is brought to you by the Westwood, the new kid on the block with 24 years experience. By Riverside Savings, serving New Jersey and the nation for 100 years. By Royal Battery, the king of power. And by Barnes Chevrolet, where Alan Boyens has received the award for overall customer satisfaction. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matt Lachlan, and I welcome you to our coverage of this North Jersey Section 2 Group 4 semifinal game between the undefeated Union Farmers and the undefeated Linden Tigers. Union has been in the playoffs for the last 6 years, now making their 7th consecutive appearance. They have won the title 4 of the last 6 years, including the last 3. They're taking on a Linden club that in 1985 won the North 2 Group 3 championship. Last year they reached the semifinal round where they lost to Summit. They are making their first ever appearance in the Group 4 playoffs. Working with me on today's game is Al Reynoso. And Al, these are two teams with a lot of tradition, a neighborhood rivalry going for them, and it should be a whale of a game.
Well, they meet each other every year on Thanksgiving, so they know each other's offense and defense. They've had some terrific ball games in the last couple of years, but this is the one that they're really looking to win because it means that the winner will qualify for the finals.
Many consider Union to be among the best teams in the country. Not only are they ranked number 1 in our poll, they're ranked number 1 in the state, and as I said, one of the premier teams in the United States. As usual, we can talk about offense, and we will talk about it a little bit, but if you want to talk about a Lou Rotino Union team, you got to talk about defense. 5 shutouts for this club.
Well, they're a tough ball club. They have not allowed too many people to score on them, and when you play them, you come out of the game physically beaten because they come to hit, and they play defense very well.
Al, offensively, they're averaging over 30 points per ball game, and once again, they've got an excellent running back. His name is Jimmy Young.
Jimmy Young is an outstanding back. He's a real good ball player. They look to him for leadership. He can really carry the ball. You see him there. Very, very versatile and a real good college prospect.
He's got 8 touchdowns running. Altogether, he has 11. He's their leading receiver. He will do some punting for them. He will also play on defense. He rarely comes off the field. Now, working with us today, Bill Horry and Steve Mayer. They will be down along the field giving us their comments and analysis of what's going on down at Fieldside. We'll send it down to them now for a look at the Linden Tigers.
Thank you, Matt. Linden High School comes into today's contest after 2 close calls. 2 weeks ago, a late touchdown against Rawway gave them a 9-6 victory. And then last week, Kelvin Johnson's long touchdown run gave them a 15-12 victory over Westfield. How much of a factor will the 2 close games be heading into today's contest, Bill?
Whatever happened prior to this afternoon doesn't count. Forget about it. Today is the game. I'm sure that today's game has everyone's attention. Especially a young man from Linden by the name of Kelvin Johnson.
Well, Kelvin Johnson, you're going to hear his name an awful lot this afternoon. He's a very, very fine performer. He does it all. He can get into the end zone and make the big play.
Well, he's an outstanding athlete. He's a great runner. He catches the ball well. He's what you call a game breaker, and a fellow like that could be a difference in a game where the matchup is as tight as it is this afternoon.
What a great backfield Linden has as well. You've got a quarterback, Antoine Allen, 2 excellent backs in Lamont Tate and Leon Harrell as well.
You've got 4 of the finest athletes in the state playing in the same backfield, and they all have speed. And speed in this game always has been and always will be a great equalizer.
What would be some of the keys defensively today for Linden?
Well, against the wing T, the kind of offense that they're going to be facing, in fact, that both teams are going to be facing, you've got to have 2 strong tackles that can stand up against the onslaught of the punishing Union offense. And you've got to have 2 outstanding inside linebackers. Those people are going to have to be key in stopping this Union attack.
One of the keys to today could be the wind. It's gusting about 25 to 30 miles an hour. It is freezing this afternoon. The weather actually is brutal. At game time, -4 with the wind chill. And we've got a great assignment, Bill. We've got to be down here on the field all day long.
Steve, that wind, no question about it, could be a factor, as can be the weather. And it'll be more of a factor to the team that worries about it the most. They've got to forget the weather conditions. They've got to play football this afternoon.
I think the coldest place in the entire stadium is up on the press box, and that's where Matt and Al are right now. Let's go back up there.
All right, Steve, well, I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I know it's not warm anywhere at Cook Memorial Field today. Al, they talked a little bit about the weather. The real key is the specialty games. That is where the wind is really going to be a factor.
Well, not only the wind, but the bitter cold, Matt. Now, I played in one game that had weather like this, and I played with Lou Rotino, and that was the Liberty Bowl. And one of the things that's very, very significant is the fact that the players' hands are very cold, and the snapper for punts and for extra points and the kicker have to receive the ball. The ball has to travel through the air with a heavy wind, and the kicking game might be the factor in this entire ball game that could turn it around one way or another. It's very, very cold, very, very windy. The players are going to be playing in very adverse conditions.
No question. In fact, thankfully, we will not be announcing in adverse conditions, though we have almost been blown off the top of the press box here. We will now go inside to bring you all the play-by-play action of today's game between Union and Linden. Don't go away.
Riverside Savings. Strength. Growth.
Al Reynoso, Matt Lachlan, along with Bill Horry and Steve Mayer back at Cook Field in Union as we are prepared for today's North 2 Group 4 semifinal matchup between the Union Farmers and the Linden Tigers. And Al, you can see one of the officials kind of huddled up against this very stiff breeze that is blowing, and in spite of these brutal conditions, there's a pretty good-sized crowd on hand.
Good-sized crowd. The wind is blowing very stiffly from left to right, and it's going to definitely be a factor. A lot of people are huddled up against the wind and finding ways to keep warm. The band is trying to play without freezing their lips to the instruments.
There's no question that the crowd would be larger if these conditions weren't so difficult, but given the fact that it is below zero with the wind chill factor, a very nice crowd on hand indeed. The officials for today's game. Our referee is Joe Fisher, and the rest of his staff looks like this. Gus Vanderbeek is the umpire. Zach Bolt is the head linesman. The field judge is Dominic Festanti. The back judge is Len Consalvo, and the clock operator is Larry Barrett. It'll be interesting to see which team wins the toss and what they elect to do. About an hour before the game, neither coach was sure what they wanted to do. If we look at Bucky McDonald, you would think that they might want to try to pin the team deep with the wind blowing in their face and hope to get good field position out of it.
Well, Linden will kick from left to right with the wind to their back, so I'm going to assume that they won the toss, elected to kick the ball to Union.
When I said neither coach was sure what they wanted to do, I think both were leaning toward doing what Linden has done, but neither would make that commitment at that time.
We're going to see two big, strong, talented football teams. We heard Bill Horry talk about the outstanding talent in the Linden backfield. I think that I've got to say something about the talent in the Union line, both offensively and defensively. Big, rough, tough customers, and there's Lou Rotino.
11 years at Union, looking for win number 99 with the Farmers, and he is approaching a milestone. In all his years as a head coach, he has won 149 games. He's looking for victory number 150 this afternoon.
And 99 at Union.
The wind really gusting up. You will hear it blowing through our field level microphones throughout the day, and there is no question it will be a factor. Lamont Tate will kick off. Tate, wearing number 38, does all of the kicking for the Linden Tigers. Back deep to receive the kick for Union, Gene Pierce and Jimmy Young. Also back there, Joe Cruz. Cruz and Rob Jones are two of the up back. They're around the 20-yard line. Young and Pierce back deep.
That work?
I see some of the fans getting blown away by the wind as it picks up. Patty Ostrowski, former head cheerleader, and we're ready to play.
Into the end zone it goes, bouncing off of Jimmy Young, and under high school rules, you cannot return a ball out of the end zone, so the ball will be placed at the 20-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Union Farmers. Their line, Mike Ferroni, Dean Ferdinandi, Mike Katz, Tom O'Rourke, and Chris Markovich. Their backs and receivers, Jimmy Young and Joe Cruz, are the halfbacks. The fullback is Robbie Jones, the left end, Steve Filiacci, and the right end, Joe Datro, and the quarterback, senior Joe Matina. Matina has thrown for 500 yards, and those 3 interceptions came in the most recent game against Cranford. Going into the game, had not thrown any INTs, was picked off 3 times by the Cougars. A little bit of a delay because Lamont Tate was changing out of his kicking shoe into his regular cleats. Now we're ready to go, and Jimmy Young gets the call, and Young dives across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Defensively, a 4-man front for the 8-0 Linden Tigers. Kyle Stratford, cousin of Troy Stratford, former Linden great, will be the weak side end. Kevin Buckley, Jermaine English are the tackles. Leon Harrell, the strong side end. The linebackers, Cornell Starling, Jim Sporer, Phil Principato, and Lamont Tate. And the secondary, Darius James, Sean Bronson, with Kelvin Johnson, the safety. They'll call it a 5-yard pickup by Young on that first play. And on 2nd and 5, a gain of about 2.
A great example of the kind of offense we're going to see. Lou Rattino has a reputation to grind out the yardage. He runs a classical wing tee, the Delaware wing tee, right out of Tubby Raymond's book. Doesn't do anything real fancy, just runs the ball down your throat. And we saw Lamont Tate, an outstanding athlete, just playing defense all over the field, goes where he wants and sticks his head in wherever the ball is.
On 3rd down, Jones, the fullback, is hit at the line of scrimmage and will be short of a 1st down. And so the game plan working for Linden in the early going. They stop Union from a 1st down, and the Farmers will have to punt into a stiff breeze.
Here's that just jam up by the Linden defense. They just shut off the drive of the offensive line, and we're in that situation we talked about. The center is going to have sure hands on the ball. The ball is going to have to be snapped back, and looks like Union might go for it.
Well, Matina settling under center. Jimmy Young getting the call, and Young, I don't know. It depends on where they mark him. Let's see. The indication is that he did not make it. Al, I thought he had some room, but as he tried on 2nd effort, he did not reach the 30-yard line.
He danced out there, Matt, when he should have just run up the field. Now, let's take a look at it. Right here, here's where he danced. He was confused about which way he wanted to go. He had a blocker. Had he just cut to his left and gone inside for the extra yardage, he would have had it. Darius James jammed it all up for the Linden defense, and Linden gets the big break, and here they are on offense.
Ball inside the 30 at the 29 will set the Tiger offense after this. Harrell goes in motion, and the give is to Harrell, and he gets nothing. Dean Ferdinandi and Chris Markovich combining for the stop. Let's check the offense for the Linden Tigers. Jermaine English, Cornell Starling, Phil Principato, Jim Sporer, and Kevin Buckley up front. The backs and receivers, Johnson and Harrell, the halfbacks. The fullback is Lamont Tate. The split end, Darius James. The tight end is Kurt Honko. And the quarterback is a junior, Antoine Allen. 591 yards, throwing for 9 touchdowns, intercepted 3 times. And in the last 2 weeks, in come-from-behind wins, he's come up with big 4th and long plays on the pass. The fullback, Tate, gets the call and gets down around the 25. Defensively, for the undefeated Union Farmers, their 4-man front, Mike Katz, Mike Ferroni, Dean Ferdinandi, and Chris Markovich. Their linebackers, George Costas, Tom O'Rourke, Joe Datro, and Joe Cruz. And in the secondary, Jimmy Young and Cliff Baskerville are the halfbacks. The safety is Gene Pierce. And if that name, Cliff Baskerville, sounds familiar to some of you East Orange fans of the 50s, indeed, he is the son of former All-Stater at East Orange, Cliff Baskerville Sr. 3rd down and 5. Kelvin Johnson run out of bounds. Loss on the play as he's knocked out at the 31. Loss of about 5.5 on the play. Johnson, the leading rusher on the Linden Tiger team coming into the game, stopped for a loss on that play.
Let's take a look at the pursuit of this Union defensive forward wall and linebackers. They came to play. Watch them show up where the ball is. No way he can turn the corner. Everyone was out there to shut him off. A very talented defense. Joe Docho, number 99, is the man to look at. I think he's one of the finest linebackers in the state of New Jersey.
Linden going for it on 4th down. Allen to the air, has a man wide open and overthrows Leon Harrell, who had 7-8 yards on everybody.
Harrell was behind the entire stadium. There was nobody. There's no one standing back there. He was behind everyone on throwback. Linden rolled to the left. Right here you see Antoine Allen set up and throwback against the grain, and he had a man, Leon Harrell, wide open, having lunch out there. However, Union had stopped this initial Linden possession and now have the ball right back where they gave it up when they gambled on 4th and 3.
From the 32-yard line, here's Baskerville in the game as a running back. Baskerville, who is the junior varsity quarterback, up as a running back in this game, and he will stay on. No gain on the play. Right now, let's throw it down to our colleagues at Fieldside, Steve Mayer and Bill Horry. Fellas?
Thank you, Matt. The indication, Bill, from down here on the sidelines certainly seems to feel that both teams will go for it today on 4th down almost every time.
The decision to go for it was Lou Rutinas. He takes full responsibility, and if you're down here and you see and you feel the wind, you can understand why. He gave the ball up at the 30-yard line. Had he kicked the ball, it might have developed into a much worse situation. So the wind is brisk.
Expect every time that Union has the football 4th down, they're going to go for it this afternoon, Matt.
All right, Steve and Bill, thank you very much. 3rd down upcoming and about 7. Bill Horry was saying before the game that when he was coaching, and of course he was one of the greats at Glen Ridge, he said when he had a cold day, the way he stopped his team from talking about it is he would gather them around and say the first guy who mentions anything about the cold is going home.
I know some guys that would have gone right home then.
They wouldn't have played for very long for Bill Horry. 3rd and long. Cruz coming in motion. Jones getting the pitch, and the speed of Robbie Jones evident as he is across midfield, and a 1st down for Union.
Union did a great job of blocking that 4-4 defense. They cut off Lamont Tate, number 38, who I think is the key to this Linden defense. Watch here. They come inside and then slide out on the pitch, and they get outside of the pack and run up the sideline for an initial 1st down for Union. So Union has moved the ball on the ground, and it wasn't a handoff. They're pitching the ball. That's a difficult thing to do in this cold weather.
1st and 10 from the 46. Jimmy Young, trying the same side as Jones, is not as successful as he is driven out of bounds by Kelvin Johnson.
Union is finding a way to run away from Lamont Tate. I don't know if it's by design, but Tate is lining up to the side that Union is not running to in most cases. And let's watch that. Lamont Tate, number 38, the outside linebacker, likes to find any spot in the defense that he feels he's most effective and keys. Now he's going to go to wide field. He's up at the top of the screen defensively. You see him walking into the picture.
Here's Baskerville, dragged down from behind by Leon Harrell. Harrell, an end at 5'10", 160 pounds.
Take a look at Harrell now, very wiry. You see the guard pulling up top. Harrell comes from the backside. There was nice daylight there. Beautiful job of pursuit along the line of scrimmage by Harrell, the junior defensive end.
Third down and 7. Jimmy Young
Young dancing and gets inside the 40 to the 39. Jim Sporer, the captain of this Linden team, in on the tackle. Sporer, playing inside linebacker this year, was an end last year. Luratino calling a timeout, and he wants to talk things over. And I guess he wants to figure out what he's going to do. He's going into a stiff wind. It's 4th down and about 3. Now, Al, if he went for it inside his own 30, my guess is he's going to go for it here at
Oh, yeah, he's going to
39.
go. It's going to go, Matt. There's no question about it in my mind. It's a matter of what he's going to go with. Now, I think that he's going to talk to the linemen more than the backs about how he wants to block this 4-4 that Linden is giving him. They have not stunted out of it. They've played it pretty tough up tight, and they've been able to shut down Union for the most part, with the exception of that sweep to the left that they got outside. So you'll see Coach Luratino speaking to the Union offense about this very, very important play to keep this drive going. And you also see on the other side of the coin, there's the Linden group getting together on the defense and how they're going to play this defense in this situation.
All right, we have a quick time here for a comment from Steve.
Thank you, Matt. From down here on the field, we believe we know the play that's coming up, Bill.
Well, the coaches in conference have decided that what they'd like to see Luke call is a counter, and if he listens to what his assistants say, that's what we're going to see, a counter play. Look for the wingback.
That would be Cruz, who's coming in motion. Well, they'll go with the pitch to Young, and Young will not get the first down. Sporer leading the charge, had help from Principato. Tate also out there, and the ball will go over to Linden.
So we heard there you see the wide pitch, and the Linden pursuit just shows up and gets a good bang. You see number 2, Kelvin Johnson, who's always around the football. He's the one that made the stop on that last 4th down play up at the other side of the field, and he came to play today. But we heard the conversation of the assistant coaches calling the counter. The head coach went with what he thought was going to work. It didn't work out for them. Linden has the ball 1st and 10.
Yeah, buddy.
Tate, the senior fullback, getting a couple of tough yards. Last year, and actually for the previous couple of years, Jim Smith was the fullback for Linden. And he was one of those tough, solid guys who could get you those 6 yards. And Tate is in that mold. But little something different from this Linden team as opposed to the last couple of years is that if Tate gets a hole, he can break 160 yards. Smith was not a plotter. It's just that he got those really solid yards, and he was a 6-yard kind of guy. If you need that hole and jam it down somebody's throat, he could do it. But Tate can break them long.
Tate is big, tough, and fast for a fullback.
Harrell, up to the 44-yard line, will be short by about 4 of a first.
I was talking about Tate. He is an ideal fullback for a wishbone offense because he's big enough to make that bang up inside and crack the ball up inside, and yet he has the speed that if you don't stop him and he breaks the line of scrimmage, he can go all the way. He's got 66 points. As a matter of fact, he's tied in the scoring race in the county with Jimmy Young with 66 points to this point. So both those young men are good football players.
Allen is going to the air, incomplete, looking for the split end Darius James. It'll be 4th down.
Another 4th down situation. Linden has the wind to their back. Now, they might be kicking.
I think they are going to do that.
I think with the wind to their back. But remember now, you're talking about a center snapping the ball, talking about a punter catching the ball, and you're talking about Lamont Tate kicking the ball up into the air. He's kicking at a 32 yards per kick average.
Cornell startling the long snapper. It's a low one, but Tate handles it and gets a beautiful punt off. Fair catch signaled for by Jimmy Young,
at the 13-yard line. So the snap wasn't perfect, but Tate did a fine job of picking it up and getting a boomer off.
Tate, an outstanding athlete. The snap was horrible. Came back. We talked about how, look the way he has to field a ground ball, pick it up. He doesn't really get a whole lot of foot into the ball either. But look at the way that ball rolled. It really flew and put Union in a hole.
No question, he was aided by that stiff breeze that is blowing. 4 minutes and 7 seconds left to play in this North Jersey Section 2 Group 4 semifinal matchup. These two teams will meet once again on Thanksgiving, and that's an issue that we will bring up a little later on because there is sentiment on some part of the coaches for eliminating a Thanksgiving game. Rob Jones out across the 20-yard line.
So Union continues to run short field away from the wide field defense of Linden. That time wide field to Union's left, or to the lower part of the screen, and Union running to the right, to the short field.
Guy Francis comes in with the play and stays in at a split end position. He comes split to the near side.
You see Tate and Cornell Starling switching sides. And we have an early whistle before the snap. Indicates that someone either lined up offside or had a mouthpiece or there was an encroachment or a motion.
Procedure called against the Union Farmers, and that'll cost them 5.
Take a look at the way the offensive line moves. There you see, right before the snap, both guards, right and left. They're citing the left guard, but that's because the official couldn't see the right guard because the left guard was leaning forward. Both guards moved a little bit early, and those kinds of things cannot go on if you're going to drive towards the state championship.
Ball back to the 16-yard line, makes it second and about 6.5. Young gets the 5 yards back, and it'll be 3rd down and about 2.
And I'll tell you that Leon Harrell is in on every play they run to his side. He fights off the blocks and gets into the hole. And in that case, they were able to give up a little bit of yardage, but they didn't want to give up that much. Union in a good position now to get a 1st down.
Clock continues to run. 2:35 left to play in the 1st quarter. Scoreless ball game. Young gets the 1st down up to the 25, and somebody from the bottom of that Linden pile was trying to grab the ball out of Young's hands. And on a day like today, that ball stripping ability may come in handy.
There you see Young. Watch him follow that blocking up inside there. And here's the grabbing for the football by everyone on that Linden squad. I'm impressed by the way Bob Jones blocks for Jimmy Young straight ahead. He really gets up into the line and knocks those linebackers down.
From the 25. Here's Young, brought down from behind. Kevin Buckley, the left defensive tackle, making a play similar to the one that Harrell made earlier in this quarter.
We see Tom O'Rourke, number 72, pull from his right guard spot. Let's follow him. Watch how he gets a pop right here to open that seam up. But the backside pursuit by Kevin Buckley shuts down the running play.
Gain of about a half a yard. 90 seconds left in the 1st quarter on a brutally cold afternoon. A scoreless game between Linden and Union. The fullback Jones gets about 3.
Remember, Jones, number 8, only a junior. Jimmy Young, number 22, only a junior. Outstanding athletes. Cliff Baskerville, the backup quarterback, a junior, number 11. Good players in the backfield for Union. And as much as Linden has an outstanding, talented backfield, Union has a matching one.
They go on the inside handoff to Cruz. They had gone initially to Young, who then handed the ball off to Cruz. That didn't fool anybody on the Linden side. Then he was knocked out of bounds, which stops the clock. And it's 4th down with the wind blowing in Union's face. So Lou Rattino now faced with a bit of a question. If he didn't go out of bounds, maybe the clock would run out. He could punt with the wind at his back. Now he's going to have to punt with the wind blowing in Jimmy Young's face.
This is dangerous, Matt. Right now, this is a dangerous situation.
Frank Napolitano, the long snapper, bounces one to Young. And it's a short punt. Again, the wind causing problems, and it is down at the 37-yard line. And in fact, it is downed by the snapper, Napolitano.
Well, we talked about how the kicking game is going to suffer. It's a shame that the caliber of this game itself and these teams are being hampered by these conditions. This game may be decided by a misplay due to the weather, and that'll be a shame no matter who benefits or who loses from it.
Now with 23 seconds left, does Bucky McDonald try one quick pass here with the wind at his back?
I think so.
Well, he'll pitch instead to Tate. Tate has some room to rumble. First down for Tate, driven out of bounds by Baskerville at the 25-yard line, stopping the clock with 10 seconds to go in the first quarter.
Let's take a look at this sprint here by Tate. Now, this is a fullback, and watch him turn the corner. You'll see Joe Dacho, 99, come right up behind him, right there, and then Baskerville coming in for the pop. His dad should be very proud of him. A great player, his dad, a fine quarterback, great leader. Came out of East Orange when they had super quarterbacks. Ralph Sturdivant, Baskerville, all those fellows are great backs and quarterbacks.
Allen fires incomplete. Looking for Johnson coming out of the backfield. Honko, the tight end, was also out there. The clock will stop with 6 seconds left.
There's a flag on the play, Matt. It came late in the play, like towards the end, as if someone jumped on the quarterback late or someone threw a late clip. Talking to actually both captains. Pom-poms for the cheerleaders are being blown all over the field here on the
wind
sideline.
has gusted up real big at this point. You can see that even our cameramen are having difficulty maintaining a steady picture, and we do have phenomenal cameramen, there's no doubt about it, but our crew today working under adverse conditions. Cliff Adams, Craig Bush, and John Shinosky, and they deserve a world of credit. I did not see any call, Al.
There was a flag, and there hasn't even been an explanation of it.
And it's second down.
Our cameramen upstairs have anchors tied on them so they don't get blown off, so we don't have to worry about them too much. There's that same pitch, Matt.
This time it doesn't work as effectively as Tate gets inside the 25 on the last play of the first quarter. So we'll take a short break here. We'll come back with the second quarter right after this. Next 12 minutes, Linden will operate with the disadvantage of having the wind blowing into their faces. We look at the first quarter statistics, and I would imagine, given the quality of these two teams, particularly in their offensive sets, those yards would be a little higher if it wasn't for the wind.
Don't expect Union to start throwing the ball when they get it, the wind to their back. They're just not that kind of a club. They can, but they won't.
On third down, Tate getting inside of the 20-yard line. He'll be short of a first down. And depending on where they left foot, right footed, they'll be short by about a yard to 2.
Good job by Tate. Look at him carry the ball up inside, the blocking by Kelvin Johnson. Johnson just veers in from the halfback spot. Tate cuts behind him and gets very good yardage, but does not get a first down. Big play here, 2 yards.
4th and 2.
Big play, maybe in the whole ball game, definitely in the drive.
He might have picked it up on second effort. Tate might have picked up the first down. He was stood up at the line, continued to keep his feet churning, and as he spun forward, he might have picked up the first down.
Joe Dacho makes the pop, but nobody from the Union defense shows up to knock him backwards, and he actually twists forward and may have gotten the first down just on the twist. Now let's look at it. Here's the handoff, and Dacho right there has him stood up, but he keeps his feet moving. A little push there by number 70, Jermaine English, the tackle, may have gotten him the necessary yardage.
It is a first down, and if the official saw that he was pushed forward, it would have been called back and called illegally. But first down, let's send it down to Steve Mayer.
It is beyond cold. The wind has picked up. It's snowing. This is certainly not professional football as well. There's no heaters on the sidelines. There's no heated benches, but yet there is Gatorade. Back to Matt.
A flag is thrown as Kelvin Johnson takes the handoff. Let's check what the flag is all about.
We picked up the play late. It was a handoff to the right side to Johnson. They're talking to the Union captain. It may be a holding penalty. Any kind of a penalty here will hurt the Linden drive. Their 1st and 10 would put them back. They're walking back, so it's definitely against them. It's a matter of how much. And the decision to take the penalty or not seems to indicate that it's not that much of a penalty.
Holding, it'll cost them 10.
10 in high school, so Linden hurts themselves here where it's very important that they take every advantage possible.
The sun shining brightly, but doing little to warm things up here at Cook Memorial Field. First and 25, Kelvin Johnson breaking tackles. Gets down to around the 21-yard line.
Johnson came with the inside counter, and Union was a little over pursued, but he got outside, and one of those Union players on that far side stayed home and picked him off. But it was a good play, well conceived, well executed. One of the farmers stayed home and stopped them, and Linden still has a long way to go on 2nd down.
The left flank by Datro. No blockers out there at all. 4 maroon jerseys ready to greet him, and Datro was the first one to step up and say hello.
The linebackers didn't go for this first fake. Let's take a look at it. There it is. The fake and the pitch. The pitch was late, and that's dangerous now. Cold weather, and there's Datro. I said it before the game, one of the finest linebackers I've seen all season. A major college prospect, right at the spot. Linden's in passing situation.
3rd and about 14, and Antoine Allen is tripped up by Joe Cruz.
Cruz coming from the linebacker position on a blitz. Gets right into the backfield. Now, he's a linebacker. He should be out there in the flat. He blitzes, shuts everything off, and makes a big play defensively for the Union Farmers, putting Linden in 4th and long situation. Against the wind, a very stiff wind. No way you could try to kick a field goal in this kind of weather, even if you were a pro. So Linden is going to go probably with a big play type of play, maybe a reverse or something, trick play.
Inside handoff to Kelvin Johnson. And Johnson picks up a couple, and the ball will go over to the Union Farmers. Mike Katz made the initial hit. He had some help. Katz has come up limping. He is a senior, 6 foot, 215 pounds. He is the center. And there he is. And we'll see whether or not his right knee is bothering him. He did come up limping. And you can see he's trying to stretch it out a little bit. And on this cold day, it is tough to get warmed up and tough for your muscles to get loose.
Mike Katz, tough kid there, a senior. Very gutsy, very strong. Has been playing injured all season.
Here's Jones. And Jones gets up to the 29-yard line, a 4-yard pickup. First time that Union has had the ball with the wind at its back. 7:55 to play in the first half, a scoreless game.
Both clubs undefeated. Linden has not played Elizabeth. Did not, would not. It wasn't because of the strike. They just were not scheduled the way the conference is set up.
Jones once again getting the handoff. This time he gets to the 30-yard line. It'll be third and a little over 4 yards. They've got to get just beyond the 34, but they don't quite have to get to the 35.
That might be one of the differences in these two clubs. Union has met the challenge of the strength in the conference. They have beaten Elizabeth. They have beaten Westfield. Linden has beaten Westfield, and not by a great deal, and has not faced Elizabeth. So Union has been in the fire a few more times than Linden has.
Linden winning last week over Westfield 19-15. Jones was crunched in the backfield. A flag has been thrown. We will check out the call, but Jones, just as he got the ball, was hit by Cornell Starling.
The linebackers came. What happened was Cruz got his hands down too late. He has to be down and set for a second. And when he put his hand down, it was illegal motion, so the penalty will be against Union. It was declined by Linden, and Union will go into a punting situation with the wind to their back. Remember, Cats had difficulty snapping back the last time.
Napolitano.
Actually, it's not Cats, it's Napolitano that lines up for the long punt.
Baskerville is in there to punt now. No flag is thrown. He was run into. It's handled by Harrell. And Harrell runs it out across the 40-yard line.
Great job by Baskerville. He punted a little bazooka that just went low and fast and got upfield quickly, and Linden could not return it very well.
I'm curious as to why it was Baskerville punting and not Young.
Young did a great job fielding that low snap the last time, but they had Baskerville in there. Perhaps Baskerville is the with the wind punter, and Young is the into the wind punter.
Perhaps. We'll try to find out from Steve Mayer, our colleague on the field, if he knows why Young was not punting on that occasion, as Kelvin Johnson takes the ball out near midfield.
Johnson turned the corner, Matt. He got outside of the pursuit and turned up the sideline, kind of quick-footed up the sideline, and got good yardage against this Union defense. This defense does not give up that kind of yardage, and he got all of 8 yards up the sideline on one play.
2nd and 2. Clock stopped as he was knocked out of bounds. 5:58 to play in the first half. Here's Tate for the first down.
And that's an example of the kind of fullback I think Tate is. I think that a college that runs a wishbone offense would love to have a fellow like him playing fullback. He's big and strong and fast. That time they faked the outside pitch and gave it to him up the middle, and he got the necessary yardage. A real good football player.
Johnson knocked out of bounds for a loss. Again, Cruz was able to come in from his linebacker position, tie up a couple of blockers, and really prevent that play from doing anything.
Exactly, Matt. He's the guy that did it. Joe Cruz came across, threw his body into the pile of blockers, and jammed everything up, forcing Johnson to go outside, and there was nothing there.
Steve Mayer will fill us in now as to why the change in punters.
Well, Matt, during the week, Jimmy Young suffered a shoulder injury, and so far today, it's bothered him just a little bit, so they went with Cliff Baskerville to punt. Also, when Jimmy Young was coming off the field, Bill Forey had the pleasure of talking with him, and Bill, you asked him about the effect of the weather.
He said he doesn't know what the temperature is. He has no idea and cares less.
The temperature, believe me, is extremely cold down here, and some of the players have gone to a second pair of gloves as well. But so far, we're watching a pretty good football game, and we'll swing it on back to you.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much, and thank you to Bill Horry. As you saw, there was nearly a turnover, but not much damage done, a loss of a few yards on the play. Linden maintaining possession, 3rd and long, however. Allen with the quick pitch, and I guess Lee Grosscup made that famous.
The old shovel pass, and I'll tell you, Cruz was right up in Antoine Allen's face when he got rid of it. Let's take a look. Watch Cruz show up. He has to underhand it. Bang, right there. Cruz left his calling card, and Linden hooked it up, but didn't get the first down. So Linden now goes into a punting situation against the strong wind. Now remember, I can't say it enough. The snapper has to have good hands. The kicker has to have good hands. And the wind is blowing stiffly in the kicker's face.
Tate to punt. It's a good snap from Starling. And a good punt into the wind. Down at the 25-yard line. Not a bad one given the wind.
Not bad at all. And the reason that it wasn't bad is that it wasn't real high. It was a low-line drive, similar to the one Baskerville got off, and the wind didn't have the opportunity to really pick it up. So the defensive struggle continues.
Struggle, straggle, striggle. 4:35 to play in the first half. I'm Matt Lockman, along with me, Al Reynoso, down along field level, Steve Mayer and Bill Horry, on a very, very cold day. One of the coldest I can remember for high school football. Young will get the call and has some room. Jimmy Young spinning forward, has one man to beat, and finally is taken down by Sean Bronson.
What a great job of running this play. You'll see the Union offense, the guards, Ferdinandi coming around the corner. Now you see Ferdinandi in the picture as he turns upfield. Now watch the bang he gets here. It's a screen. Good job spinning around by Young, and he takes it up for good yardage. One man between him and the goal line. Sean Bronson made the stop.
Let's go,
First down.
Sean Johnson, a first-year player, senior, who's done an outstanding job for Linden defensively, number 8 for the Linden Tigers.
Up the middle they go with the fullback Jones, who picks up 5 to the 49. 2nd and 5. The clock now a factor, 3:35 to play. Union has already used 1 timeout.
You know, Matt,
2 remaining.
Excuse me, Matt, this game has gone very, very fast because they've kept the ball on the ground and they haven't kicked that much, and yet the cold makes it feel a lot longer than it really is. It's a very quick game.
Jones getting the call once again, is tripped up short of a first down. Darius James coming up from the cornerback spot to make the tackle.
There you see the replay. And you see the little crack in the defense that Union has exploited now on this late drive here in the first half. Union in a roll right now.
3rd and about a yard.
Short yardage situation.
And they go with Matina on the sneak, and he has the first down. So the first time that Matina has kept the ball, and he picks up the first down, keeping the drive alive. Ball just shy of the 45-yard line. Clock is stopped now as they are moving the chains. They are set in place, and the clock will now begin to tick down. 2.5 minutes to play in the first half.
It's cold and lonely on that bench.
Doesn't look too lonely. There are a lot of people down there. It's cold.
It's cold.
1st and 10. Here's Young. And Young hammered down by Starling after a gain of about 3.
And again, you see Dean Ferdinandi turning the corner. Beautiful execution of a typical Delaware wing T play. You see him right at the top of the screen making that block downfield. So Union picking up 4 or 5 yards at a clip here in this drive. They have to battle the clock as the clock winds down to about 1:40.
Baskerville in the game, and Baskerville spins for the first down. Clock stops as they move the chains. He's inside the 35-yard line.
There you see a ground level shot. Here's Ferdinandi coming around the corner, making that pop right there. Cliff Baskerville, great job running the ball. Timeout.
Union utilizes one of its remaining timeouts. 1:37 showing on the clock. It is official. It is scoreless. Neither team has been able to put a point on the board, and the weather has certainly affected this game. Those flags, the American flag and the Union flag, have not stopped blowing stiffly from left to right all afternoon. Union's high-powered offense being affected by this wind. Same can be said for Linden, averaging nearly
10-year-old.
They're motivated. He was easy.
Hasn't let them since, as he might.
These two teams will meet again, but at Linden's Cooper Field on Thanksgiving. As we said earlier, traditional Thanksgiving rivals. And there was a time in the state playoff system that they tried to avoid, the State Athletic Association tried to avoid matching teams who were to meet on Thanksgiving or who had met earlier in the year. But about 2 years ago, they threw that rule out and just seeded them 1 through 4, and that's the way it would stay through the whole playoffs. Union came in seeded number 2, Linden number 3, behind number 1 Roxbury. And so the strange situation of these teams meeting twice within less than a week. Baskerville tackled for a big loss. Kyle Stratford, the sophomore end, 6'3", 185 pounds, the cousin of former Linden great Troy Stratford, now starring with the Miami Dolphins, is the man in on the stop. The flag and the penalty called against the Union. My guess is it will be declined unless it was thrown before the ball was snapped, and that apparently is the case.
Now, how could they...
Well, no, you know why? I thought it was a short penalty. It's a biggie. It's a clip, and that's a 15-yarder. So it occurred after the ball was snapped. I thought it was just a 5-yard penalty that was going to be called. So, boy, this really hurts Linden, or Union, excuse me, because it takes them even with the wind. They're well out of field goal range. All just in Union territory. 1:10 left to play. First half. First pass of the afternoon for Union. Lofting it out there for Cruz, and he makes the catch. Fine catch by Cruz at the 15-yard line. He had coverage, but he made the grab. Joe Cruz catching the first pass thrown by the Union Farmers, and the ball is inside the 15, less than a minute to play in the first half. Jimmy Young tackled at around the 18-yard line. Union going to try and get back to the line of scrimmage quickly and run a play. There's Young hustling back to the huddle. 35 seconds left.
Very important time in this drive and in this ball game. Union may go to the air.
That's what they'll do. Out in the flat, incomplete for Young, and that will stop the clock with 19 seconds left in the half. Even with this wind, a field goal from this distance is not a sure thing. Because it is a gusty type, it could really blow the ball off course pretty easily.
That time Jimmy Young had a shot. The ball was thrown behind him, so he did his best to haul it in, couldn't hook it up. And Union has third down.
Gene Pierce coming into the game will go at a wide out position. They go with one man in the backfield. That's Jones. 3 wide receivers.
But they're probably going to throw and hope that the incompletion will stop the clock and they can punt.
Matina throws. Intercepted. Intercepted by Kelvin Johnson. Jimmy Young, the intended receiver, and that will stop the Union drive with 13 seconds to go in the first half.
Great defensive job by Linden here. Now an incomplete pass would have stopped the clock, and Union would have been able to line up for a field goal and get a 3-point lead at halftime. But a superlative job defensively by Linden has shut down that threat, and both teams will go in with a 0-0 score.
Linden's not even going to risk running a play this close to their own goal line. They let the clock run out, and that will do it for the first half. A scoreless first half. Union and Linden battling for the right to go on to the North 2 Group 4 Championship. We'll take a short break. We'll come back after this. And they ended their drive, and we are scoreless, as I said. Now, probably the 2 bravest men on our TV3 staff, or among the bravest, Steve Mayer and Bill Horry, standing by down at fieldside. And fellas, I know it's not getting any warmer, but your thoughts?
Well, Matt, thanks a lot, first of all, for calling us brave. I think we're frozen brave is a better word. And, you know, Bill, it's really a shame that because of the cold weather, you have to go maybe away from your game plan, and you maybe can't do the things you would like to do in a state championship game.
Well, that's a fact. There's so much at stake in this game, you know. Who wins this game goes on to play the finals in the Group 4, and the ratings are so much affected, and the nature has so much to play in the outcome of this game, you know. But football, as they say, is like life, and life isn't always fair, you know, Steve, and this game might not be fair. But I don't think you'll find the coaches using that as an excuse.
Do you think some of the keys maybe in the second half is to take advantage of the win when you're going that particular way?
Oh, I think both coaches know that. I think that's a gimme, you know. Both coaches are considering the wind. They're not considering the cold, and it's a factor they have to contend with, over which they have very little control.
Many of the fans throughout halftime either left the facility or went to their cars and put on their heaters to get warm. The fans are starting to file back. The second half is almost upon us. Let's send it back up to Matt and Al.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. And the teams are out on the field. And Al, quick comment.
Well, a couple of comments, Matt. Number one, our men are brave and frozen, but they're also crazy to be down there. Number two, the band elected, I think they refused, not so much elected. But we're here for the second half, and there are some things we have to look at, and that is the possibility of a tie at the end of regulation time.
And we will get into the overtime provisions in just a moment. First, we'll take a short break, and we'll come back with the third quarter action right after this.
Riverside Savings, strength, growth, innovation. From Cape May to High Point, from the Hudson to the Delaware, Riverside's perfect blend of service and technology means better banking for you. For over a century, we've been committed to providing quality financial assistance. Our highly trained staff lives up to this promise of excellence every day.
More than 100 years of banking tradition stand behind every Riverside transaction.
Riverside Savings, strength, growth, innovation.
Hold it. There's no baloney at Barnes Chevrolet Summit. No baloney, no gimmicks, no come-on. Just straight talk. And when Barnes Chevrolet says discount, Barnes Chevrolet means discount. Choose from over 300 new Chevrolet cars and trucks or over 50 fully reconditioned used cars. And when it comes to service parts and bodywork, we sell more cars in our service department than we do in our showroom. So come into Barnes Chevrolet today. Buy or lease from your little profit dealer, 3642 River Road Summit, a quarter mile from the Short Hills Mall.
Fresh from the sea comes a scrumptious summer specialty at the Westwood Reserve Room. It's the New England Clam Baker for two. For one low price of just $29.95, each of you will enjoy one whole lobster, a generous mixture of clams, shrimp, scallops, mussels, and more. All the usual Reserve Room trimmings, plus a bottle of Inglenook wine. Before summer's over, be sure to enjoy the New England Clam Baker for two. Only $29.95 at the Westwood Reserve Room, North Avenue in Garwood.
Roll out the red carpet. Royal Battery brings you the king of power, the Titan. The Titan Battery, an electrical source you can depend on. Royal Battery has a Titan for your every need. Around the house, on the road, off the road, on the water. And Royal Battery installs everything they sell, including tires, starters, and alternators. Get the power of the Titan at Royal Battery, 1095 St. George Avenue, Colonia.
Linden will kick off to start the second half, but in the fourth quarter, the Union Farmers will have the wind at their back, and that could prove to be decisive in this ball game. Now, there is an overtime provision if this game ends in regulation. This year, the 8-minute overtime period was eliminated. We'll go right to the 10-yard overtime procedure. What will happen is that the home team will call the coin flip at the end of the game. They will have three options to go on offense, go on defense, or which end of the field they want the overtime procedure to begin. After that decision is made, the other team will have the other options. Each team will be given 4 attempts from 10 yards to score, and we will go through that procedure until one team has more points up on the board. If the first team that runs it scores a touchdown, the other team doesn't, we go home.
Well, here we go, second half, 0-0 ball game. Two very, very tough football teams, and the wind blows the ball off the tee. Now remember, the initial coin toss was won by Linden. They decided to take the field position. They wanted to win. That gave Union the ball. That gave Union the choice in the second half. Union could be kicking off now if they wanted to. They chose to receive the ball. So Union wants to run the ball.
And perhaps they are also considering having the wind at their back in that final 12 minutes. Young at his 2. And Jimmy Young is brought down as he crosses the 20-yard line. And that's where Union will put the ball in play to begin the second half. And the wind has been a factor. 4 plays, they gave the ball up on downs. Union had the ball on its next drive for 6 plays and gave it up on downs, 2 punts, and then an interception.
Both these clubs have a highly touted defense. Union, being ranked higher than Linden, is expected to have a better defense. Linden is at an advantage because they have nothing to lose. They are the underdogs.
And here's Jones breaking across the 25-yard line.
So Union runs up the middle and kind of veers back against the grain once he gets through the line of scrimmage. Let's watch Jones. Watch how he'll veer to the right once he gets through the line here. Here he goes, veering to the right, getting himself some more yardage, running against the backside pursuit of Linden. So is that what Union has decided to do? Let's watch and see.
6-yard gain, second down and 4. And Jones once again getting the call, but as he gets to the middle of the line, gets only a yard before he's thrown back.
Those big, rough, tough Linden defensive linemen just jamming everything up inside there. Jermaine English at 6'1", 240 pounds, only a sophomore, number 70 in there defensively. Kevin Buckley, 76 at 225. Another sophomore, Kyle Stratford, and the junior, number 44, Leon Harrell.
Third consecutive time for Jones, and he is stopped short of the first down. And it also looks like we have an injured Union player, but now getting up slowly is Joe Dattro. Dattro making his way back to the huddle, seems to be okay. Now it's 4th and short. And in the first quarter, Union went for it on these 4th and short occasions. They will send the play in with Guy Francis.
The last time they were this close, they just went with Matina on the quarterback sneak, the senior quarterback, number 14, blowing up in there behind Mike Katz and Dean Ferdinandi, Tommy O'Rourke. See if they go with it again.
Linden stacking the center of the defense. And they go with Matina, and let's see how they mark it. It looks like they will mark it for a first down.
Gee, if Union had gone wide there, I mean, we actually saw Leon Harrell actually slide to the inside before the snap. They were so inside conscious that a fake inside and something wide would have been very, very successful. Nevertheless, the first down is what they wanted. It's what they accomplished. It's their initial first down of the second half. They wanted the ball, and they're starting to move a little bit. They got good yardage on the last first down situation when they sent Young up into the middle of the line.
1st and 10 from the 33. Cruz moving in motion. And Jones will once again get the call, and he's wrapped up by Jim Sporer.
Again, that Linden defense stands up and muscles the Union forward wall, and they're popping in there. And, you know, Matt, we saw Datro getting up slowly. It really hurts when it's cold and you get your bones banged around a little bit. It really, really hurts. There's that battle inside. Look at that popping and struggling, wrestling, throwing. That's what this game is about, and that's what this game is going to be. It's going to be a fight in the trenches. Someone's going to get something broken loose, and that'll be the ball game. A big break, a big play is going to win this game.
They go on the double handoff to Cruz, and that is snowed under and read well by the Linden defense.
So Linden has figured out the Lou Rotino offensive strategy of running the ball inside, and they're just blitzing linebackers all the time now.
Well, before the game, we were talking with the coaches, and I know, Al, we were talking to Bucky McDonald, and just verified last year's Thanksgiving Day score, and Linden defeated Union 7-0 to win the Watchung Conference. And you said, well, then you can stop his offense. You know how to do it. He goes, I think I've got an idea.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. I said, you know, you've beaten Linden 2 out of the last 4 years. Rather, you have beaten Union 2 out of the last 4 years, and you must know how to stop their offense. And that's what he said, Matt. He said, I think I know what's going on the other side of the line of scrimmage.
Well, he stops him on 3rd down, and 4th and long will bring on the punting unit. Young will punt this time. We told you earlier that his shoulder was injured earlier in the week, and that's why he wasn't out there for the second punt. He was on the bench trying to loosen it up. Baskerville punted, but Young will come on to punt here. His second punt of the day. Bad snap. He handles this one, and now he's going to run. He's got some room, but he is dragged down from behind by Sean Bronson. And so the wind affecting the specialty game as we said it would.
And here it is. This is the big play we were talking about. Now, he does a smart thing not kicking, and he has room, but he really doesn't take off. And I'll tell you, had it not been for that super defensive play on the part of Linden's Sean Bronson, he would have had a first down because everybody had vacated this near sideline. But Linden gets the big break, and here they are inside the green zone. They can take 4 downs here.
Ball at the 17. Harrell coming in motion, and the pitch goes to Tate. And Tate is met by Datro and thrown out of bounds after a gain of about a yard. The Linden drives today, and again, they've given the ball up on downs a couple of occasions and been forced to punt on 2 others.
Datro skating along the line of scrimmage from his linebacker position. The rest of the Union defense. There was a real good play up at the top of the screen by that whole right side of the Union defense. Looked like Markovich strung it out. Datro made the pop.
Tate getting maybe a yard, so the Union defense stiffening in a very tough situation. Well, I'll tell you, Al, I thought that Young was going to be able to break that for some yardage. When he handled that snap, there's a lot of room out on this side. Bronson making the tackle, and had he gotten out there, he probably would have been close to a first down, if not more. But boy, oh boy, that tackle by Bronson, giving the ball to the Farmers at the 17. The defense has stiffened and only given up a yard, and it's 3rd and 9.
George Costas on that last stop.
Allen under pressure, and he slips and falls, and boy, that is a very big play. It takes them out of field goal range.
So one big play after another. The big play on the tackle of the punter when he decided to scramble after a bad snap, and now here comes Linden giving up a big play against the Union defense. Antoine Allen just scrambling around, and Joe Cruz running him down. Great job of keeping his balance and concentrating by Joe Cruz. Antoine Allen taking Linden out of the possibility of kicking a field goal with the wind. So here they are punting to Union with the wind to their back.
Second sack by the Farmers today. And that'll take a bounce and roll out of bounds at the 9-yard line. And so Union will have poor field position, but Linden wanted some points.
You know, I went at halftime into the locker room just to keep warm and spoke to Lou Rutino a little bit, and he said, Al, we can't play offense into the wind. We'll have to play this game defensively when we have the ball, when we're into the wind. It's just too doggone tough to even run an offense into the wind because of the factor that the wind creates with the cold. And so consequently, here they are, 10-yard line into the wind, trying to run an offense.
Flag thrown. Jones across the 15, but let's check out the flag. And it's a motion call against Union.
Boy, Union really is hurting themselves. They did it in the first half, and now they're doing it again. And that last play is a well-conceived play. They come out strong right, and they run a dive play to Jones, and with Jimmy Young veering in from his halfback spot, and Jones cutting right off his tail, off that block, and getting good yardage. But the whole thing came back plus 5 yards on the penalty for motion. So Union, a very well-disciplined club, hurting themselves early here in the second half.
Ball back to the 5-yard line. Here's Cruz coming in motion. And the handoff to Jones, and he loses a couple. So the Linden defense showing its stuff.
Linden playing 8 men on the line of scrimmage. Their 4-4 just breaks down into a gap 8 defense, and they're just coming on every play. They're counting on Union being unable and unwilling to throw the ball. Actually, Union being unwilling to run outside, and with that unwillingness to go outside, Linden is capitalized by blowing linebackers on every down and jamming up every possible offensive try that Union has come up with in this series.
Second down and 17, 4:20 left to play in the third quarter. Once again, Cruz will go in motion. And the handoff going to Jones, and he maybe gets up to the 4-yard line.
Second down play. This could be, you know, this game could be decided by a 2-point safety. Linden continues to bottle up the Union offense the way they have.
Young coming out of the Union lineup, replaced by Baskerville. 3rd and long.
Young was having trouble running against the wind without the ball, just getting off the field.
Here's Baskerville. Had some daylight, but it was quickly closed down by the defense. He gets to the 8-yard line. It's a punting situation. Young will come on to do the punting. And you remember last time it was a bad snap, and Linden got good field position out of it. A strong showing by the Union defense prevented Linden from getting any points, but a mistake here, a miscue here, and it could be that safety you talked about, or at least excellent field position for Linden. They should get great field position anyway, the way this wind is blowing.
Frank Napolitano, number 85, the long snapper for Union.
Young getting it off. It's a short one. And great field position for the Linden Farmers.
And that was a punt that was taken by the wind. Just a matter of luck. The ball was lofted, and the wind just stopped it dead, almost like it hit a wall. And it was only because a certain down shaft or up shaft or whatever kind of shaft of wind hit the ball at that particular time and stopped it dead in its tracks.
It wasn't a mine shaft by any chance. 1st and 10, 2:35 to play. Allen going to the air. lofting one, incomplete, and the clock stops with 2:28. Looking for Darius James down around the 7-yard line.
Baskerville, number 11, climbing up on James's back. Take a look at it. Cliff Baskerville in the defense. Now watch him climb James's back here. Pop that ball forward. Prevent the completion. So Linden now taking a chance by throwing the ball. Taking a gamble. If they don't get a first down, a lot of people are going to say they should have run the ball, but here they are throwing on first.
Kelvin Johnson gets inside the 20 before he's brought down by Joe Dattro. Dattro's 6'2", 210 pounds, a senior. Many people have talked about Mike Ferroni as being one of the best offensive linemen in the state and a big-time prospect. Lou says that Dattro would be number 2 on the list in terms of amount of interest from other schools, the number 2 recruit off this Union team.
I'm very impressed by Dattro. I'm also impressed by the way Union so far has shut down Kelvin Johnson, a very dangerous back.
To the air once again is Allen. Pressure once again, and he's dragged down by Mike Katz. Katz, the senior end, tackling Allen back around the 30-yard line, and once again that takes Linden out of a possible field goal try.
Joe Cruz, Mike Katz playing a heck of a ball game out there, along with George Costas. They were out there stringing it out. And I'll tell you, Antoine Allen has had difficulty getting rid of the ball now. Are they going to go for a field goal?
Yes, they are. Kelvin Johnson on to Hull for Lamont Tate. Ball will be put down at the 37-yard line. And now a timeout called by Linden.
Linden, difficulty putting the right players out there on their field goal or extra point team. They had people running around, and they had someone uncertain about his position, so Bucky McDonald very wisely called the timeout to settle everything down and not rush this very, very important attempt to put points on the board. And remember, Union has said, or at least Lou Rotino said to me at halftime, they're not playing much offense into the win. They're just playing defense even when they have the ball.
While we have this timeout call, let's send it down to field side for Stephen Bill.
One of the interesting decisions Lou Rotino had coming into this half, he decided to go with the third quarter against the win, save it for the fourth quarter with the win, and hopefully he could go into the fourth quarter still with that scoreless tie. Now with the field goal attempt, what about that decision, Bill?
Well, you know, this field goal attempt is far from a gimme. There's a strong wind, as you can see, and getting the ball to the snapper is going to be a problem.
Let's go back upstairs.
A 47-yard attempt for Lamont Tate. It's long enough, and it is good. A wind-aided 47-yard field goal by Lamont Tate. And the Linden Tigers, with 53 seconds to play in the third quarter, have taken a 3-0 lead.
Great job by Linden. They came down and did what they had to do. They would have liked to come away with 6 or 7 or 8 points, but they came out with 3, and that's a lot better than the goose egg they had up on the board previous to this point. So we talked a lot about the decision right before the opening kickoff for the second half of Union to take the ball into the wind and to have the wind at their back in the last quarter of this game. And now they're down 3-0. They have not been behind in too many ball games all year, but they are behind now, and it's going to be on them as Linden will now be inspired and maybe has the momentum at this point.
They trailed 3-0 to Westfield early in the ball game. Westfield scoring on its first drive. They trailed in the game against Elizabeth in a seesaw battle, but they have not been behind in too many games. Young at the 1. And Young gets to the 20-yard line, and that's it. So Lamont Tate, right now the hero of the ball game for the Linden Tigers, and that is correct. A -8-yard scoring drive. You don't see too many of those.
Not too many of those. They ran a few plays and lost yardage. Antoine Allen giving up some yardage, and then they just lined up. They called, very wisely called timeout, got everything settled, told Lamont Tate, you kick this one, you're going to be a hero. He got it up into the wind, good strong boot, and went straight through the uprights, put Union down 3-0.
23 seconds left in the third quarter. And again, they go to Jones. Now, statistically, not much of a difference between Jones and Young. Jones carried the ball 19 more times coming into this game for a few less yards. But that shoulder may be bothering Jimmy Young more than Lou Rattino has led on, because Jones has really started to carry the ball an awful lot in this second half. That'll do it for the third quarter. We have 12 minutes of regulation remaining. Linden leading 3-0.
When you're planning a special reception or party, plan on the
regulation remaining in this North Jersey Section 2 Group 4 semifinal game. The winner advances to the championship tilt on December 5th, where they will take on the winner of today's game between Roxbury and West Orange. Should Roxbury win, the game will be played in Morris County at Roxbury. They are the #1 seed in this playoff. Should they lose, West Orange would travel to whoever wins this game. Right now, Linden leading 3-0. Union has the wind at its back for the final 12 minutes. They'll go to the air right away. And they got Filiacci out across the 40-yard line. James on the coverage, Steve Filiacci making the grab, and the ball's at the 43.
So Lou Rattino shows that he's going to play offense when he has the wind to his back, just like he promised he would at halftime. Comes up the first play he gets with the wind to his back, throws a strike down the middle of the field. And loosens up this Union defense, this Linden defense. Now watch, they play their linebackers. They still have the linebackers very tight.
Here's Young, tripping and falling, and then finally wrapped up by Kevin Buckley.
Young doesn't have the sure footing so far. He looks like, there's some of the stats. Linden's -36-yard passing. That's because of the sacks that they have experienced recently. But you see, everything else is what we've been calling all along here.
The one stat that's not shown there is the stat on the board.
Right, the 3 points. But Union now trying to loosen up this front 8 that Linden is throwing at him.
Here's Baskerville eluding one tackler and getting across midfield, and a flag thrown, a late flag thrown.
Flag was picked up by the official and thrown further into the Union offense, so it looks like holding against the Union line.
We'll take a look at a replay of the play, and maybe we can pick up the holding. It comes behind the play, so we may not.
There are a lot of loose arms there on the Union blockers. They have their arms wrapped around the man they're blocking, one arm. Now that rule now is that you can extend your arms, but you can't extend around the guy you're trying to block. So there's banging up front now by this Linden forward wall defensively. The defensive line for Linden now is getting very, very tough.
Union penalized 4 times to just once for Linden, and that's going to switch from what normally happens for Linden. Coming into the game, the Tigers have been penalized 69 times. Their opponents just 19. Although that statistic had been coming down as of late, awfully big difference, but Linden has not hurt themselves with the penalty. 2nd and long, passing play, floater over the middle to Dautro, breaking tackles, and finally dragged down after he picks up the first down at the 44. So Dautro, a fine tight end, sure-handed receiver, showing his talents there.
We talked about Dautro as a linebacker. Don't sell him short as an offensive tight end. It's freezing cold. He's wearing gloves. and he brings that ball with real sure hands into his body, and now he stretches for the extra down, the extra yardage for that first down, and he gets it. And Union needed it there. They were in bad shape because they had a long way to go against this tough Linden defense.
Jones fights his way to the 40-yard line.
And has the momentum gone over to Union with those few successful plays? Have the Union players seen the light? Have they been more inspired by the fact that they're down 3-0 and the fact that they're in a big ball game at home in front of a big crowd, despite the fact that a lot of people have left? There's a whole section here reserved for the band. It's empty. The band is gone.
Less than 10 minutes to play. Jones diving forward is short of the first down. 98 wins for Union in the last 11 years, and what that has developed is a sense that they are invincible. And trailing in less than optimum conditions in the fourth quarter is not something that's going to cause concern on the part of the Union side. They figure as long as they got one more shot, they can win this game.
Well, they're in a big play here, Matt. Third and about 3 or 4, a long 4.
Jones getting the first down, reaching the 31-yard line, and what they are doing is not only picking up the momentum and picking up some yards, they are eating up the clock.
And therefore eating up the capability of Linden to answer back should they put points on the board.
Ball at the 31. Gene Pierce does the field goal kicking for Union. Just to look ahead at that possibility. And there's movement on the right side. The right end, Costas moving, and that'll cost Union 5.
Here you see the movement right here in front of our cameras. A little lunge, and the officials blow the whistle, throw the flag.
An important 5 yards, makes it 1st and 15, puts the ball back to the 36-yard line.
So Union uncharacteristically hurting themselves with penalties due to a lack of concentration, and those are the ones that are going to hurt you if you're going to be the state champs.
Union's won 4 of the last 6 Group 4 championships. They've got to win today to get to the final. They've won the last 3 titles. Martina floats one out, and it's almost picked off and then almost caught by Filiacci. Bronson, or excuse me, James, I think, saw a lot of room in front of him and said, I'm going to win this game for us by going for a score, and he just broke his concentration for a second.
Darius James had the interception of the ball game. And don't forget, we had one by Linden at the end of the half, and here's the possibility of another one. He had a lot of room had he picked this off.
And then Filiacci almost was able to catch it on the rebound.
Martina did a nice job getting open out here and throwing the ball, but he just delivered it a little bit too late, and it was almost picked off. So we have a 2nd and 15 situation.
Young crossing the 35. Starling got a little bit of a hit on him, and then Lamont Tate with the final tackle.
Young looked like he outran his blocking. He cut up too early, didn't let those big linemen, Dean Ferdinandi and Tom O'Rourke, get around the corner. Otherwise, he would have had that broken. I don't know if Lou Rotino picked that up, but they should come right back with that play and run it wide, because they had it well blocked that time.
3rd and about 12. Baskerville stopped at the 30.
There was that same play, but Linden defended it a lot better. Baskerville cut it up. He probably should have then cut to the outside, but it was very difficult. Let's take a look. Now you'll see the guards coming around the corner. They turn it up, and there are the guards. Ferdinandi coming around the corner, but a great job by Cornell Starling stopping it. So Union now in a 4th down situation.
9 yards to go for the first. Ball at the 30-yard line. Filiacci goes split to the left.
I'd look for Tatro here.
Patina rolling out, firing, incomplete for Cruz. Union fans wanting a flag, none is thrown. Excellent coverage on the play, and on downs, Linden will take over with 6:37 left to play.
Patina looked like he had a lot of yardage up there. He probably could have run for close to the first down. You see there's no one. As the camera pans across to the receiver, there's no one up there. He probably could have legged it in, at least for the first down yardage, but elected to throw. It was a good throw. Well hooked up. Joe Cruz was open, but they couldn't make it work. And now Linden will take over. Still plenty of time with 6:37 showing on the clock.
Sean Bronson on the coverage, and there is a Union player down on the field. He's being attended to by the training staff here.
You know, Matt, we talked a little bit about Thanksgiving Day and what it means to a lot of football programs. Traditional game. It's the game that a lot of alumni come back to see, the one that's very, very important. Coaches can keep or lose their jobs by what happens on Thanksgiving regardless of the rest of the season. And yet some people feel that the playoffs have eliminated the importance of the Thanksgiving Day game because the first round is played before they meet.
Rob Jones coming off a little shaky. We'll get back to that point in a moment. Linden with the ball at the 30-yard line, 6:37 away from reaching the Group 4 final. Tate getting a couple, and right now Bucky McDonald can't become too conservative, but a couple of first downs and they'll be in pretty good shape. Well, you know, Thanksgiving in terms of its effect on the playoffs really only concerns those teams that make it. That's quite obvious, and that's a small percentage of the teams that play football. But there is the argument that if you're going to have the playoffs set up, why play an important semifinal game 5 days before you've got to play your regular season ender? It is a strange situation, but there are arguments pro and con. Kelvin Johnson breaking a couple of tackles and getting across the 35. Short of the first down. He's got to get to the 40. Less than 6 minutes to play. What's a crazy situation, just for a moment to talk about the Thanksgiving end, is what has transpired here. One of the few times that the situation has occurred where teams are playing each other twice within a short span. The team that loses today, you know, I mean, they've got a lot to get up for. It's their last game, but they've got to be awfully disappointed. Meanwhile, the team that wins is looking ahead to the championship game. Big third down play. They're going to get it Johnson, and Johnson gets absolutely nothing. They have shut down Kelvin Johnson all afternoon. And it'll be 4th down and a punting situation. So the specialty game, once again, could play a factor in this horrible win.
You know, Matt, the other thing about what we were talking about Thanksgiving is that the loser of this game will be knocked out of the playoffs, but they'll still go into the Thanksgiving game with the conference championship, undefeated in conference play, both teams.
Straight up, in fact, blowing back. Someone's going to have to stop that for Linden, and it's finally down at the 15-yard line. So they were able to get the punt off, but the wind blowing that ball back.
It's just what we said could happen, Matt. It's just the kind of thing that is a shame about the weather conditions here in this very important ball game. The ball was kicked up in the air, and it went end over end. The wind not only stopped it, but turned it back end over end so that when it hit the ground, it rolled towards the Linden goal line. And Union has got the big break here on this situation. Look where they have the ball. They gave it up on downs. Linden looked like they had the game won if they could just move the ball. Union shut them off, made them kick. The wind gusted just at the time the ball went up in the air. It went backwards, and now Union has the ball inside the green zone where they can take 4 shots at the goal line or 4 shots at the first down.
The ball is marked just inside the 15. 4 minutes and 15 seconds left to play in regulation. Linden leading 3-0.
I think they'll run Jimmy Young to the right side here.
Jones must be okay because he's back in there, and he gets about 5.
When they put the wing to the left, they like to come back off tackle to the right, pulling Dean Ferdinandi and Tommy O'Rourke and developing a sweep or an off tackle depending on whether they kick the end out or cave the end in, and we have an injured Union player.
Chris Markovich down on the field. While we have this pause in action, let's throw it down to Steve.
First of all, Bill, now how about Lurutino's decision to go with the wind?
Well, I always thought that it was a wise decision, and to this point it's a wise decision. A lot more football to be played this afternoon.
In all your years of watching high school football, have you ever seen a punt like that one?
Never, and I've never been colder in my life.
Fair enough. Let's go back up to Matt now.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much. Thank you, Bill. Markovich still being attended to. The clock has been stopped with 3:49 left to play.
You know, at halftime, I was talking to one of the officials. He said, this is worse than duck hunting. You know, you go out duck hunting and sit in these bogs, and, you know, at least you can get to shoot and kill something. But, you know, out here on the football field, freezing to death.
Markovich coming off the field. He'll have to come off for at least a play. Whistle blows and the clock continues its downward turn. 2nd down and 6.
All right, they're setting up wing right, so they'll probably go to the left, away from the wing.
Jones trying the middle and gets maybe to the 10-yard line.
But I'll tell you, that Linden defensive line, they're not taking a backseat to this Union forward wall at all. They're really playing tough, rough, tough, bang, stand up, crash into each other defense. These are the, you know, these are the times that you'll never forget as a player, as a fan, as a coach. They've got to punch it in. Linden's got to stop him. It's just a matter of the superiority of wills here.
3rd and 6. No gain on the play. Young. He might have that time gotten to the 10. Jones last time was unable to do so. Doesn't get to it. And it is 4th. It'll be a little more than 5 yards.
What do you think, Matt? You think they're going to kick? There it is now. He really can't make the cut he wants to make. Good defense. Banging up in there. Linden defense showing up. And there's that Kelvin Johnson. He's always around the football. He always makes the big defensive play. Union looks like they're going to go for it.
Well, now here comes Gene Pierce onto the field. Matina, the holder, will be marked down at the 17-yard line, a 27-yarder. And it is up and good, and we are tied with 2 minutes and 8 seconds left to play in regulation.
Well, we talked about what could happen if we end up in a tie at the end of regulation. We went over the possibilities. There is a coin toss. They decide what end of the field they're going to do it at, and they run 4 plays. Each team runs 4 plays. During those 8 plays, that total of 8, each team is allowed 1 timeout. If a team scores, the other team has a chance to answer. If they don't, it's over. If they do answer, then we do it again.
Linden would like nothing better to not have to worry about the overtime provision.
You know, a lot of people said that
they'd like to get the ball and do something here.
Many people went home at halftime, but look at that Linden sideline. They're all there. They went into their cars and did whatever they did at halftime, but they're back out here, and this side is still pretty well packed. So a lot of football fans, and you know, you're not just talking about Linden and Union fans. You're talking about football fans from all around the state came to see this. I see varsity jackets from Belleville and Montclair and all kinds of places here watching this game. The sun is out now. Boy,
and warming things up, it's probably up to like -2 with the wind chill factor.
Yeah, that's a little heat wave.
The ball fell off of the tee just as Pierce approached it.
I thought that was like the new way of doing an onside kick. Everybody
Kind of looked like out of, what was it, Horse Feathers, the Marx Brothers?
Yeah.
Hey, diddle, diddle, cat in the fiddle, this time we're going to run up the middle.
I'll tell you, what an exciting game. 3-3, and that's what these two clubs are. They are defensive clubs. They've come to play defense.
Johnson at the 2-yard line. Bringing it out across the 20. And Linden will have 2 minutes and 2 seconds with which to try to do something to avoid overtime. Steve Mayer down the field side.
There's not much that we can feel from down here, believe me, but one thing we can feel is momentum.
And I think what Linden has to do right now, take that 2 minutes off the clock and wait for overtime.
Right now, it's exactly where Union wants it at 3-3 back upstairs.
Less than 2 minutes to go in regulation. Tate getting out near the 30-yard line, and would a turnover be critical here?
Union takes timeout. They want their hands on the ball again.
No question.
Shut them down, get the ball, and try to throw it. They have the wind to their back. Here's a scoring drive as we have an injured Linden player. So our 3 plays, 5 yards.
Our combined scoring drives are good for -3 yards.
-3.
Linden's field goal came after a quarterback sack, and it was a -8-yard drive, and this one a 5-yard drive. Injured player down in the field for the Tigers, and it looks like it might be a cramp.
Well, you know, let's think of the possibilities of the Thanksgiving Day game. Should, well, after one of these teams wins, let's say a team wins.
Okay.
And now they go into the Thanksgiving Day game with the conference championship on the line. And a couple of guys are banged up because it's cold here and they've gotten hurt. Those guys aren't going to play in that game. That game is going to be minimized by the fact that the team that wins here is not worrying about that game as much as they're worrying about the championship game a week and a couple of days away from that time.
Oh, there's no question about it. Both coaches have said during the week that if that situation occurs where a player's hurt a little bit, banged up and needs a rest, he will not play in the Thanksgiving game. But it is a rare situation where two teams will meet like this in a playoff game on the Saturday before Thanksgiving, in a situation where they will meet on Turkey Day.
Now look at that bird in the middle of the field. There's a bird trying to fly into the wind, and he can't get anywhere. There he goes. Now he's flying to the side a little bit. It was a guy, he was right there in the middle of the field trying to fly against the wing, was getting blown away. There he goes, getting blown back. Everybody's looking at him. And the injured player comes off the field under his own steam.
It's Tate.
It was Lamont Tate, and we're thankful to see him up on his feet.
Second down and about 4. 1:40 left to play in regulation. Kelvin Johnson able to break a few tackles, gets close to a first down, but it looks like he'll be short.
And was it Union taking a timeout there? Or at least a timeout signaled.
And yes, Union calls the time, stopping the clock with 1:31 to play.
And there's the Union coach, my old roommate in college at Villanova. We played in the Liberty Bowl together, and I'll tell you, it was cold. And he, Lou Rotino, happens to be a guy that I know personally does not like the cold weather no matter what he's doing. He just doesn't like cold weather. He doesn't like his nose running. He doesn't like his ears cold. He doesn't like anything, and he doesn't like cold weather. And here he is in a situation, he said before the game, I don't remember ever having played in high school in weather like this. And I said, well, what about the Liberty Bowl? And he said, well, that was the only time that I can remember that it was as cold. In fact, it was probably even colder at the Liberty Bowl. But here we are. His team is in a spot where they can stop Linden, hopefully for them, and get the ball back for another shot. 1:31 showing on the clock. Now, they've got third down up on the scoreboard. Yeah, I guess that is right.
That is correct. Third and about 1.5 yards.
Linebackers up on the line. They're coming.
Tate back in the game is stopped short
of a first down. And the Union coach is signaling for a timeout, and it is called, and that will stop the clock with 1:24 left to play in regulation.
And you know, Mike Ferroni, a wrestler, one of the best heavyweight wrestlers in the state of New Jersey, had him stood up and would not let him fall forward. He was using wrestling bear hug tactics to keep him from falling forward and getting those extra few inches or yards that they needed. So here's a situation. What do you think? Linden should go for it?
Well, let's see if Steve and Bill have a thought on that. Fellas?
Well, right now what we're trying to also find out is if it goes into overtime and if Union won the flip, would they take the football first? First of all, are they going to go for it here? It looks like they will. And second of all, do you think Union would take the ball first?
I think that if Union gets an opportunity and wins a flip, they'll take the ball second. And I also think that this play coming up right now could be key. If they don't make this first down, Union gets 3 more shots in order to chance another field goal.
And what's most interesting is that Gene Pierce was kicking 45-yard field goals before the game. Back upstairs.
I guess he meant 45-yard field goals and not 45 field goals. His leg would have fell off if they kicked that many.
All right, 4th down. And Linden is going to go for it.
Wow, if they go outside, they can go.
Here's Kelvin Johnson, and he is hit for a loss.
And he may have stopped the clock, too. He did.
As he was driven out of bounds, the clock stopped. 1:18 left to play in regulation.
Look at the way the Union defense strings this out. Now, he tries to go wide, and they just keep their feet, and they show up. That was Gene Pierce, the first man, the senior safety, who got there, and everybody else showed up, knocked them out of bounds. Now the whistle blows, and what happened here?
The ball just blew away. That's what happened. They'll place it down, ready for the center snap. Union with the ball at the 27-yard line. And they're going to throw. Matina to the end zone for Cruz, incomplete. Coverage by Bronson. Clock stops with 57 seconds left.
Okay, I think this is exactly what Union should be doing. They should be throwing the ball 3 times here.
If they do not pick up any yards and the ball remains where it's at, figure 7 yards back for the placement, it'll be about a 44-yard field goal.
Wow, with the wind blowing the way it is, if they just get it up and straight, the wind will blow it through. It's really, really gusting now. I saw a cheerleader get blown down about 20 yards. She jumped up in the air, the wind took her, and she landed up on the 20-yard line. She was at midfield when she jumped. That's a strong wind.
2nd down, to the air. Matina stepping up, having some room to run. And he is kept in bounds.
I don't know why he didn't run out of bounds.
Union does not have any timeouts left. They use them trying to stop the clock and get the ball back in a position to win it. They have been able to get the ball back, but they've got no timeouts left. 30 seconds remaining in regulation. 3-3 ball game. Matina just throws it out of bounds to stop the clock with 21 seconds left, but it'll be 4th down. Ball is at the 23-yard line. Again, figuring 7 yards for the snap. You're looking at a 40-yard field goal with a brisk wind at your back. In fact, Gene Pierce is going to step back another yard. The ball will be at the 31-yard line, the way he's got it placed right now.
How's this for pressure? Number 27, Gene Pierce, lining up to win the game.
He's now moved his tee up a yard. So it will be a 40-yard try, and Linden calls a timeout to let him think about it a little bit.
A little psych job right here.
I don't know if you can ice a player at this point. They're all frozen. But I know what they're trying to do. Psychologically give him something to think about.
I think that that timeout played into the hands of Union. Union was a little disorganized. They were a little hurried up. And Linden, trying to psych him out, called the timeout. And they gave Lou Rotino a chance to go out there and settle down his kids and say, hey, fellas, just block. one more time. 5 more seconds. Pick your man, keep him out, concentrate, and kick this ball through, and we'll go into the finals.
At the 2:08 mark, Pierce kicked a 27-yard field goal to tie it up. This is for the win. Can't handle the snap, and Pierce is snowed under, and Linden will have a couple of opportunities. 18 seconds remaining. The snap wasn't all that high, but Matina had trouble handling it, and that prevented Union from getting the field goal try off, and with 18 seconds left, Linden has it.
We talked about it. We talked about how the weather conditions would affect the specialty teams, how the weather conditions would affect the kicking game, and here it is. Drama. Every time we turn around, it's drama on the side of Linden. It's drama on the side of Union, and we're going to be here a little longer, despite how cold it is. Steve Mayer and Bill Horry are going to be down in that field a few more minutes.
Well, I'll tell you, it is brutal. It is not much warmer up here. And now, let's see, the Union Farmers are jumping up and down. I'm not sure why the officials are huddling.
I think it was a 3rd down. That was a 3rd down play.
Okay, so they're going to have another try.
Now there's some confusion. We have Coach Rotino out on the field.
Well, let's see. They threw an incompleted pass on 1st down. Matina did not get out of bounds on a 2nd down play. Then he threw the ball out of bounds on 3rd down to stop the clock. So that was 4th down. It was definitely 4th down. There may be some confusion concerning the downs, and the officials now pointing to Lou Rotino says, remember, you threw the ball out of bounds.
That's exactly what they're doing. That's what the confusion was. Some people said that they thought they were kicking on 3rd down, but they weren't, because we counted the plays. The long incomplete pass, the run where Matina didn't get out of bounds, the pass to stop the clock into the air for 3, and the kick was on 4th. Linden has a shot now with 14 seconds.
And I don't think they're going to do anything dangerous. Take the snap, step back, and let's go home. Well, they'll go up the middle at any rate, risking a little bit of a turnover, but not much of a risk because Tate's a sure ball handler. He does run out the clock in regulation, and we will go to overtime. And the overtime provision will be explained when we return to Cook Memorial Field, and we will explain what will happen here. The home team will call the toss of the coin. They will have 3 options. The winner of the coin toss will have 3 options. It can be Linden, but Union will call the toss. They can elect to be on offense, they can elect to be on defense, or they can elect to determine which side of the field the 10-yard rule will come into play. Once that has taken place, we have a Team A and a Team B. Team A is the club that has the ball first. If something should happen, such as a safety, in some strange circumstance, they're back 90 yards and the safety occurs, or B, intercepts the ball, picks up a fumble, runs it in, it's all over. Team B is declared the winner.
That would make it sudden death. It's not a sudden death.
Now what will happen is if Team A were to score, let's say a touchdown, they will have the opportunity to try for an extra point, either kick or 2. Team B would then get the ball at the 10-yard line with 4 tries to try to equate that. If Team A, say, were to score a field goal, Team B could try a field goal, or they could try and score a touchdown, in which case they would win. But what we will do is we will continue to alternate those series, 4 plays with the ball placed at the 10-yard line until we have a winner.
A lot will be said right at the coin toss, because someone will decide either we want the ball on offense, or we definitely want the ball on defense, or we want the whole thing to happen down here where the wind is going to be to our backs or to in our faces. So it's going to be a very, very important coin toss. Remember, the home team now, which is the team that didn't have the call in the first half, is the one making the call.
Okay, Joe Datro is...
He looks like he's talking as if he won the toss.
Yeah, he's telling Joe Fisher what he wants, and now Joe Fisher, our referee, will explain to Jim Sporer what his choices are.
Look at those other officials crowded around him. Well, let's see. Let me make sure I got this right.
The clock is not a factor. Timeouts do not carry over. Each team is given one timeout per 4-down series. So Linden will have the ball first, and they will drive with the wind at their back. So Lou Rotino's team apparently winning the toss and electing to have the ball second. That's the position you want to be.
He wanted the defense. He wanted defense the first time. Defense for Union.
So the ball will be placed at the 10-yard line. Linden will have 4 opportunities, and they can do with it what they want. They can go for a touchdown on all 4. There's no first down as such. You got to get it into the end zone. Through 4 quarters, our statistics look like this, dominated by Union. But the clock showing a 3-3 tie. First time that TV3 has televised overtime. Last year, New Providence and Brewer League did this for 5 times, and that was after they had played an 8-minute overtime period. This year, the 8-minute session was eliminated, and we are now just going to the 10-yard rule.
And thank God, because if I stayed here any longer, I think I'm going to light this press box on fire just to keep warm. We're fortunate to have an expert up here on the rules, Dick Moderanti, the dean of football officials in this area and the head of wrestling officials in the state of New Jersey is here, and he's making sure we don't make any mistakes about what's going on. But nevertheless, Linden has the ball and gets 4 shots at putting it into the end zone.
Now, regardless of what happens here, aside from a safety or Union getting a turnover and being able to run it back in for a touchdown, Union will get the ball. 4 plays. This is down number 1. And Tate gets nothing. Now, should a fumble or an interception occur and it not be turned into a score, the series ends. You are not automatically given 4 tries. You are given no more. There can be fewer. No gain.
He's having a struggle getting up.
Second down, and the ball still at the 10-yard line.
Well, I tell you, what an experience for these kids. They're out here. They'll never forget this. Never. They'll never forget what's going on right now.
Here comes Johnson in motion. Allen wanting to throw, overthrowing Darius James, and it will be 3rd down.
And that was 2 shots. Load them up and take another shot.
And then, if they don't get any yardage here, I imagine we'll see Tate try for a field goal. 2 second-half field goals have put us in this position. Tate with a 47-yarder with 53 seconds left in the 3rd quarter gave Linden a 3-0 lead, which held up until 2:08 was left to play in the ballgame when Gene Pierce kicked a 27-yarder. Into the end zone, and a flag is thrown in the end zone. And an interference call is going to be made, I believe.
I think it's a bad call, Matt, and this is my opinion and only my opinion, because that ball was not catchable. That ball was thrown way up there. Let's take a look if we can see it on the replay. That ball was where it hit the track. So if that had been caught by anyone, it would not have been inside the playing field.
Ball is at the 5. What is more important is that it's a first down. It gives Linden 4 opportunities from the 5.
Okay,
High school
so
rules different in interference than professionally. Professionally,
they determine
if there's no opportunity to catch the ball, the referee won't call it, but that does not exist here.
Okay, so we have a timeout.
And it's the only timeout that Linden has in this series.
So now they get 4 shots from the 5. Is that what we're saying here? So the catchable, I have to retract what I said about a bad call, because the catchability of the ball is not a factor in high school, from what I understand here. Catchability is a factor in professional football, but not in high school. So.
It is first down. Team A, which in this case is Linden, is awarded a new series whenever there is a penalty for defensive pass interference and it is accepted. Or if Team A were to recover a scrimmage kick, say a field goal attempt, between the goal lines after it has been first touched by Team B beyond the neutral zone, or if B is guilty of roughing the kicker, the place kick holder, or the passer. So that is why they are going to be given 4 new tries. There are those circumstances when you will be given more than 4 plays. Tate is it.
And we talked about Tate being the ideal wishbone fullback, and that's all that was. They wanted to fake the outside play and give it to Tate quick in the middle, and he just blew it up inside for the touchdown.
Now the extra point becomes important. Here's a look at the handoff to the fullback barreling through and in.
And that's what you do against blitzing linebackers. You go past them before they can recover from their initial charge across the line of scrimmage. They better hurry up and get this off, because they don't have a timeout to call here. They've got different personnel changing shoes and lining up. And this is time. This between plays time is time.
Tate on for the extra point. Johnson to hold. And it's blocked. Very, very big play. The extra point try is blocked. The score is now 9-3, and a Union touchdown and successful point after will give the Farmers the victory.
Let's take a look. A lot of pressure came from the left side of the Union defense. They all got in there, and one of them blocked that ball before it got up off the ground. And there's an injured Linden player on the field being attended to.
It is Tate, injured once again. Nine to 3 is our score. We are in our first overtime. Game ended at 3-3 in regulation. Union will now have an opportunity for 4 plays, unless any of the situations I mentioned earlier will occur, in which case they will have more than 4 tries. If they don't get into the end zone, this game is over. If they do get in, the extra point try, if it is successful, will give them the victory and advance them to the championship. Let's go down to Steve for a quick comment.
Just quickly, a couple injuries today, and you see Lamont Tate down on the field. The cramps have been bothering some of these players with the weather, but surprisingly, with the weather being as cold as it is, there haven't been that many injuries. I think you'll just have a couple of fans today with frostbite, but that's just about it. And from down on the field now, Union believes they've got new life. They are very excited awaiting this 10-yard situation, and we believe it was Ferroni with the block. Ferroni with the block of the extra point. Back up to you.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much. They continue to work on Lamont Tate.
I've got an addendum to my retraction, Matt.
And the chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.
And there's the bird trying to fly against the wind. But here's what I have to say about the interference penalty.
Okay.
It's a bad call, and I'll tell you why. Because if the interference occurs after the ball is beyond the receiver, then it's not an interference. And that, in the replay, showed that the ball was well beyond the receiver when the interference occurred. So, again, I'll go back to it's a bad call.
Okay.
and the bad call gave Linden 4 more shots.
The only exception I can find in looking at my 1987 rule book is that if the ball does not cross the line of scrimmage, then there's not interference. However, basically what it says is that for Team B, when the ball leaves the passer's hand, the restriction on a receiver catching the ball applies, as long as the player is beyond the neutral zone and he has his opportunity to catch the ball interfered with. But nonetheless, here's Union's try from the 10. They've got to score to tie it up. And they'll go to Jimmy Young. And Jimmy Young will get a couple. Again, clock not a factor. There is no limit as to when you can get these plays off other than the allotted time to get to the line of scrimmage and run a play. But we're not worried about a 12-minute period or an 8-minute period. The whistle will not have time run out on you. Here comes Tate limping back into the game. So Tate does not want to miss this overtime period. Ball at the 8-yard line. It's 2nd down. And Rob Jones gets the call, and Rob Jones is awfully close. The signal from the Union side is that he is in. However, he is short of the goal line, and it'll be 3rd down.
Let's take a look. He comes right in the middle here. There's the blocking, and that was a great block you saw by Jimmy Young for Jones as he took it up in there very, very close to the touchdown. Look where the ball is. Look where the Linden linemen are going to have to line up. And Union has to pump it in here.
And Linden will have to stop Union twice. Again, a field goal is not beneficial here. So they'll have to stop them twice from getting into the end zone. If they are successful, they will move on to the championship. If not, Union's try for the extra point becomes a very, very important play.
Boy, I'll tell you, you talk about drama. The blocked extra point, if Union scores, then they'll line up and the extra point will be the margin of victory. Look how close. The official has his feet on the ball, surrounding the ball because the wind is still blowing hard. The Linden defense is in there trying to dig in. By the way, the field in excellent playing shape for these conditions.
Matina on the keeper, and he is in.
Now we have some drama.
Matina on the 1-yard sneak.
Gene Pierce. Here's the sneak, and I'll tell you, if he needed a foot, that's all he got. If he needed 2 inches, that's all he got, because Linden just stood everything up, and you see some of those backs for Union just flying into the pile in order to loosen up the resistance of that defensive wall.
And here is perhaps the play of the game. Gene Pierce on for the extra point. If it is successful, Union will win in overtime 10-9. If not, we'll go to our second OT. And it is good, and Union advances to the state championship game.
What a ball game. What a thrill for everyone here. People who played and people who watched. They saw the hopes go up and down several times in this afternoon's ball game. And what a heartbreaker for Linden, and what a heart stopper for Union.
Gene Pierce with the extra point, and in overtime, Union edges Linden by a score of 10-9. We will be back to wrap things up. Don't go away.
Reconditioned used cars. And when it comes to...
Well, you can't have a tighter outcome than that one. 10-9, Union with the victory. They advance to the state championship. They will take on the winner of the Roxbury West Orange game.
Steve Mayer standing by with Mike Ferroni and head coach Lou Rotino. Steve.
Mike Ferroni is down here, and Mike, you can't get much closer. Matt just said it. It was one of the tighter contests around. Two teams extremely evenly matched, but you came out on top.
Well, you know, it's the word used there is team is a very important word, because I think, you know, when you have two balanced teams like this, the team that wants it more is going to be a team that's going to come out and do it. And I think we showed a lot with the heart. This game, Elizabeth, this whole season so far, we've shown we got heart. And that's the biggest thing on this team, is the heart of the team.
The key today was fighting back.
You know, hey, I'll take a win anywhere I can get it. If I have to fight back to do it, then it's going to be that much more special. But anytime you win against a great team, you know, it's something special.
Once again, congratulations. Mike Ferroni, the captain of the Union High School Farmers, will bring in Lou Rotino right now. Lou Rotino was a happy man. I know I watched your face as that football went through. You were just so relieved.
Yeah, it sure was. It was an unbelievable ball game. No, I've been in this game a long time, and I've never been involved in an overtime game. It was a unique experience. And boy, I tell you, it really felt good when I saw that ball go through.
What does the word character mean to you right now?
Well, I think both teams, these two teams are class teams, and there's a tremendous amount of character on both teams. I don't think either team has to take a backseat to anybody.
Once again, congratulations and good luck in the state final. Once again, Lou Rotino has led a Union High School team into the state final. Bill Horry, I'll tell you, it was a pleasure working with you down here. We can't even move our mouths anymore. It's so cold.
This was one of the most dramatic finishes that I've seen in a football game. And to be sure, there was a little separating these two great teams. But, you know, in the final analysis, there's just a little something that separates a champion from an almost champion. And Union had it today.
Back up to Matt now.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much, and congratulations for a fine job today. Congratulations to Bill Horry and Al Reynoso. What can you say? The score tells it all. The game was an interesting game. It wasn't thrilling until the very end because of the wind conditions, but 10-9, Union continues its mystique and continues its march to another championship.
Well, we said in the beginning of the game that the wind and the cold weather would be a factor, especially in the specialty teams, especially in the kicking game. And sure enough, when it came down to Linden trying to score the extra point, they got the snapback, they got the ball down, but a surge by the defense for Union blocked the extra point. Remember that Linden got some extra downs on that interference call, and Linden got their touchdown, and Union had to have the character to answer that touchdown back with an outstanding thrust for their offense. And sure enough, they came up with it. They lined up all the pressure on the Union extra point kicker, and he just stood up there and kicked it straight through, and the hearts went out of the Linden fans and their players, and they fell down on the ground and stamped their feet and cried, and the Union players jubilated, jumping up and down, and one of them said, "Can you feel the cold?" And the Union player said, "I could walk off this field naked if I had to, because it doesn't matter."
Well, no question, they are elated with the victory. To recap the scoring quickly, Lamont Tate, a 47-yard field goal with 53 seconds left in the third quarter, giving Linden a 3-0 lead, which held up until 2:08 was left to play when Gene Pierce kicked a 27-yarder to tie things up. Late in the game, Union tried a field goal which would have won it in regulation. It was a misplaced snap. The ball was not placed down properly, and that eliminated their attempt to win the game. We went into overtime. Tate scored on a 5-yard run, made it 9-3 when the extra point was no good, and then Matina, the 1-yard sneak, and Pierce, the extra point, good. 10-9 the final score, and they'll do it again on Thanksgiving.
And Matt, that Thanksgiving game will mean the conference championship, but I don't think it'll have the luster or the drama that this game had.
If it does, it will be a magnificent game. That'll do it. Once again, the final score, Union 10, Linden nothing for our entire crew. Thanks for joining us, and so